Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Morning Tech Show. I'm Todd Cochran here in Honolulu, and we have on the line, we have our co-host this morning. Good morning, Rob Greenleaf, in from the West Coast. How are you doing this morning?
Good, doing great, Todd.
Well,
Another great Saturday here in Seattle.
yes, it is entirely too early. The old time change does not bode well for getting up at 5 a.m. to do this show, but pretty excited today. We're going to bring on Chad Mum from The Verge, from Vox Media. Chad, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Well, I'm glad you are. And I tell you, it's when Rob emailed me and said that you'd got you on as a guest, I was like, cool. I get to find out everything that The Verge is doing on in the, I guess, new media space. And your guys is, obviously you guys are ripping it up on the blogs at SB Nation and everything else you're doing. But I think I'm more curious about what you guys are doing on the media side. And but you got quite the background, don't you? I was reading your bio. You've been involved in the production of the video media space for a long time.
I have. It's been a lot of fun to be able to kind of take some of those learnings and apply them in a big way with a great team at The Verge and Vox Media. You're excited to chat.
So, I know that you just got back from the West Coast, so you flew in on the, sounds like you probably flew the red eye home, but, how does your guys' team makeup and where do you guys do like most of your production? And is that down on the East Coast, West Coast? Where do you guys do your?
So, I'm based in New York City, and most of the team is in New York. We have actually just moved into a new office space, which is incredibly exciting. We have a half a floor dedicated to our production team, which we call Vox Studios at Vox Media. And it's actually a full broadcast facility that we've built. For the last 18 months, we've been working out of dual offices in New York. One that was kind of more production centric with all of our edit stations and a small podcasting studio where we do the Verge cast and shows like the MMA Hour with Ariel Hawani. And now we've moved into a real facility that we designed from the ground up and we're building. And we've got 17 stations for editors and graphics people. We've got 2 sound stages with, lighting grid and full on production capability, 2 full control rooms. And we're still building that out. We're about ready to kind of open it for business. We're already doing a show called Top Shelf on The Verge every Thursday out of one of the new studios. So it's pretty exciting, and to get that kind of investment from the company to really just go big. When I joined Vox 18 months ago, there was no video at all. And in the span of a year, we produced almost 8,000 pieces of video content, did well over 100 million video views, and just went from zero to something really, really fast. So it's been kind of a wild ride. But to answer your question, my team's out in New York, and I've got about 35 people who work at Vox Studios producing the video content you see on Vox Media websites, and we're excited that you guys like it.
Rob, I was talking with another client early last week. They kind of called me in a panic. They needed some help on some things. And, it's what's interesting is that there's 2 approaches. The Verge got up and they got running. They got their content going, everything that was going on over there. And then they added the video. Well, I got the call on like Monday. These guys had built like this $5 million studio and got all the bells and whistles in place, but they didn't have a website. I was like, I'm like, there's definitely 2 different approaches. I think Chad and his team's approach is better because these other guys have spent all this money and, okay, you've spent $5 million. Now you need a website. Shouldn't you have been building traffic with, some viral stuff before? But it just kind of, it made me go, wow, so there's different ways to skin a cat for sure.
But we definitely got started, when we built The Verge, video was kind of the fabric of what that site was going to be. It was always a part of the editorial plan in a big way. I started working with Josh Topolsky back at Engadget when he had a big idea to start a show we ended up calling the Engadget Show.
Right.
And it all kind of came from his belief that there was space in web video for a higher quality production, and he wanted to go and explore that with Engadget. And so when we came to The Verge after the success of the Engadget show and some of the video stuff, we knew that we wanted to take it and really see what it would look like if we built a news brand that had video as a part of the core experience. And so, I think we started with video reviews, and it's nice to kind of come from there, where that was with a small team. When The Verge started, the video team was only 3 people, to a team now that is, it's 8 or 9 people plus the resources of our studio to really kind of blur the lines between and a television channel and a publishing company. So I think if we think about ourselves as kind of like this interesting space, and I think you'll see us really even getting more aggressive, carving out sort of a channel kind of television mindset with what we do in our production. And so it was cool, and to do that, we've been able to do all of our documentary features, we've been able to do our reviews. We shoot all that stuff kind of out and about. We don't need a studio space for that. We did On The Verge, which is our late night talk show. We actually would rent a television studio, and having the facilities, in-house now to be able to do that on a daily basis is really going to be a game changer for us. And we're already seeing it with some of the reaction to our, experiments with Top Shelf and like our CES coverage, which was pretty comprehensively built around the video. So like I said, excited to be here, and you do need a website if you want to produce content on the internet.
Rob,
Yeah.
I had to laugh because, we had the studio there outside of North Hall at CES. So you look at our little 10 by 20 area that we had allocated. Walk over and saw the Verge's set, and I was just like, you could see the distinct difference between guys that are, really still trying to plow ground, I guess, for better words. Rob, you've had some good experience with these guys. What's your thoughts on their implementation so far?
Yeah, I think what the big thing that stands out for me is just how rapidly these guys, with their new brand and what they were doing and the new kind of content that they were making. I mean, it was very, very similar, I guess, in broad scope concept to what they were doing, with the Engadget side, but they upped the game as far as around the video quality and the production, and I think it really changed. I believe the expectation on the web and the podcasting space for quality video in this space. So I'm really impressed with what they've done and how rapidly they did it. Yeah. Any comments on that, Chad, about how crazy that was for you guys to ramp from nothing up to making that kind of production and 35 people and all that kind of stuff?
I think it basically was just iterating on an idea and starting small and repeating it over and over and watching the marketplace sort of react to it. At least from our user standpoint, it was very widely talked about when we launched kind of our video quality. And for me, I always felt like the internet and web video got a bad rap because everybody thought it had to be low quality, and it was web video was, especially professional web video, was still going to be lower quality and kind of have lower aspirations than what you get on a broadcast or on television. And I always thought that was wrong and misplaced. I feel like the web has a potential for a storytelling medium to just be better than television and better than magazines and really better than anything out there. The interactive, the multimedia side of it. So, we just said well, let's just make it good. And because of things like, the DSLR revolution, it's cheap for us to acquire images that are beautiful. And I found a lot of our employees and the video people on Vimeo. They were 20-year-olds with really great looking reels and people who like technology. So it was kind of the perfect storm of, tech savvy young producers and directors who, loved what they were doing, loved technology, and they embraced it in, these tools like the Canon 7D and 5D and, Final Cut, After Effects. And just to kind of give that a kick in a direction with some great journalism and editorial brand behind it, it was actually surprisingly, it caught on surprisingly fast. And like I said, I think, our position is we want to just keep growing it. We believe in it 100%. and we just want to keep pushing it forward. And I think, like I said earlier, I really truly believe that the future of television is going to be, from producers like us, and at least we want to be a player in that world. As all the boxes converge, and as you're going to get all this through a single cable in the future. We want to be programming at the same level that the big guys are doing. So that's the way we think about it.
I think that's an interesting comment because it's, delving in my mind here as we started to talk today and you guys building a studio, ramping up. My whole concept has been, and, maybe this is the wrong type of concept. Obviously here in my little studio, I'm a one-man show. I'm switching this morning, and even though I'm not switching so well because I'm still half asleep, you know, the the ability to stay small, mobile, and agile, at least for me, has been, a large part of the ability to be successful and keep costs down. I think that's the same for a lot of people creating content on the internet. Now, you said that The Verge wants to compete, and I think you guys already are, obviously, because you guys are doing great stuff. So the question is, do you really want to go? Do you feel the direction is completely set top box and the OTT experience, or do you think you guys are going to delve where you're actually going to be on a physical cable channel? My personally, I don't necessarily want to be on that physical cable channel, but like you said, I want to be, when the Apple TV opens up to apps and when the Roku, obviously we're on the Roku and stuff like that. Do you guys actually have aspirations to be on true broadcast during this transition?
We've had I think there will be some broadcast stuff in our future. I just think we're going to think about it just like we think about iTunes or any distribution platform. If we can find the right partner and it makes sense for us and makes sense for our business, then we'd consider it and definitely explore it and are exploring it. I think more to my kind of the point I was trying to make was that we want to be programming like television programmers,
Right.
and we believe in the future that the kind of the democratization of television with the internet and kind of as this disruptive force will be like supportive of new content producers that program like television producers. So
Gotcha.
that's the way we think about it, and we're it's all more of a packaging thing, and creating video that is packaged in a way that is more favorable to a lean back experience, but having it broken out, and being able to do that at scale. So, that's our attitude. Like I said, it's, there's no rush for us to jump onto a cable channel. And, frankly, like we've got plenty of a large enough mouthpiece with just theverge.com to get our stuff out there and get it seen. But, I agree with you. You have to be small, you have to be nimble. And I think one thing that we have been able to figure out, at least, is to be able to do high quality content with web economics. We do it because we can afford to do it, and because it makes sense for our business, and we can market it and package it up. It isn't some crazy investment that's just a giant loss leader. It's we do it at web economics, and I think that nimbleness is important.
Right.
But you don't have to sacrifice quality with cost necessarily, and by controlling the way we produce and controlling our resources and being able to find efficiencies with across all of our teams in sports, gaming, fighting, technology. We get to do some stuff. I think we punch a little above our weight class sometimes. So that's the way I think about it. More programming like a television channel as opposed to just a race to be, on someone's cable lineup.
One thing that I wear two hats. I obviously do this show here, then I also basically run the operation over at Raw Voice, and we work with, I don't know, I think it's approaching 14,000 media creators. We help them with ad deals, media statistics for their podcasts and so forth. And one thing that we see in our data polling when we poll, basically global views, is that when there's a show, say for example, like mine, I do both audio and video, is that audio is still reigning the day when it comes to consumer consumption. So, for example, let's put this show out this afternoon. I'll put an audio version of it out. I'll put a video version out of it. And, 90% of the people will grab and listen to the audio version, and 10% will grab the video. And what we see across the board, it doesn't matter if it's a my show or a top 10 iTunes show that are doing both audio and video, audio is still ruling the day. And so for us, at least, the money to be made in the space continues to be audio. Audio continues to pay the bills, and video is sexy and it looks nice and it's a great lean back experience. But we're still paying the rent with the audio
Mhm.
portion. You know, I don't know if you can talk to that at all, or what do you guys see on your side?
You know, our audio podcasts are still very popular, and I think the distribution isn't as uh, kind of favored to audio as it is with you know, with your show and some of the other iTunes podcasts. It is higher, and for shows like the, specifically when we're talking about our podcast, so you know, shows like the Verge Cast and the Verge Mobile Show, heavily downloaded. Uh, Great, and audio is a great medium for discussion and kind of long form shows like the ones that we're doing now, and talking about technology, talking about any topic. You know, and it creates a lighter experience for the user, and you know, we love that. You know, we love that people love our audio podcast. But you know, I think that we're trying to engage the user in a slightly different way and present something that, you know, you can't necessarily get just by listening to it. And you know, combining things with beautiful cinematography and just great entertainment, you know, video content that I think it doesn't necessarily translate to an audio only experience. I say that now with a slight caveat because we do have, you know, the Verge Cast, which is our, you know, regular, incredibly popular podcast that is heavily downloaded in iTunes and heavily downloaded in audio. Same thing for the MMA Hour with Ariel Hawani. It's tons of audio listeners, and you know, but we try and really make video a forefront, and I think that those shows, you may see even more of a separation between the radio's format and sort of a television format, and you know, we may even separate it further. So I think for discussion and really true podcasts, yes, audio is the way to go. But for what we're trying to do, video is really the only way, and I don't think they're mutually exclusive. So.
Hey,
So, so Chad, I hear in your voice a distinction that you're drawing between podcasts that are related to audio and podcasts that are video, and I'm just wondering what your philosophy is on that, and why. And do you see a huge difference as far as in your distribution strategy between those two? And is it possible that that all of your videos could go into the video podcasting side, or is there a reason why they're not over there?
I'm not sure if I understand that question fully.
Okay.
Can you? What
Yeah,
was the question?
yeah, I think I asked, you know, a lot of questions there, but I guess the strategy that it sounds like that you're taking is, you know, how you think about it is the podcasting side. It sounds like you're thinking more around the audio side. I guess my question for you is, as you look out into the future, do you see the video podcasting side becoming more and more important, or are there other distribution strategies, you know, streaming and flash, you know, streaming and those kind of things being way more important on the video side versus podcasting?
So okay, I got it now. Thank you. Sorry, I'm still on the red eye.
That's fine.
Tiredness a little bit. Need a little couple more cups of coffee here. I think, you know, for us, what we're going to do with our podcasts, I think, will be really just make them a great audio experience and let that audience that is looking for an audio show get a great audio show. So if there's going to be people sitting and talking to each other, then I think that, you know, we're going to have some video, but you know, audio is really the best way to consume that, and we want to get really out there. I think there's going to be another category of programming that we're going to produce that is what I would say is more of a show model and less like a podcast and more just a television show made by an internet company. And that's what like Top Shelf is. That's what On the Verge is. Things with a little more production value and you know, a little greater expense, but you know, the video is the show, and you know, you can't really watch On the Verge just by listening to it, because there's, you know, segments and there's, you know, it's designed to be viewed. So I think there'll be, what we'll probably do, and right now we have a small stable of shows, and you know, some of them have audio components and video components. I think we may separate that and say, okay, here's the audio shows that are our talk shows, That's just going to be radio. And we're going to build a great experience for that. And over here on the other side, you have our shows, our television shows, and we're going to build a great experience for that. And right now, we're a little early, so we haven't really made that separation yet. And, we're a little in the middle, but, I think going forward, like we just want to make the best content for the medium that we're doing. And if we feel like people talking is best served by making it audio specific or audio only, then that's what we're going to do. If we can build the production value on an ad value with video, then we're going to really do it and go far and make it where you can only watch it in video, because that's the best way to experience it. And then I guess to answer the last part of that, actually is really kind of crucial to our strategy, is that live streaming is the way forward. And the way that we see it is live streaming gives I've been calling it internally and sort of talking to partners as this on-demand linear programming. And I think that is our like future. And that's how we act like a television broadcaster, is we do appointment viewing in the same way that you would program a channel and say, okay, at 5 p.m. every Thursday, we're going to have a new episode of Top Shelf. And we're going to put it on the front page of our site. And that is something that it really, people dogpile onto it. The audience, it amplifies it in a way that makes, people jump, and they're talking about it, and they're on Twitter, and it's social, and they're in the chat. And it creates like a little mini like flash mob on the front page of The Verge. And then we make that video available on demand afterwards. And it just kind of gives it a huge kick to launch. And I think what we'll be doing more and more of is following up those shows with other programs and really just programming a linear stream. And I don't think like the Huffington Post Live is where we're really headed necessarily, but more on-demand live programming and doing it where it really makes sense. But that's something that really gets me excited is distributing with, using the capabilities of a live stream with higher production value to kind of really like kick out our content and give our readers and our fans like one, a chance to build their schedules around our programming, and two, to have a great experience where they can talk about it and talk about it on social, talk about it in a chat, while it's airing for the first time. So that's a huge part of our strategy.
Hey, Rob, this, it to me, it's, I'm sitting here shaking my head up and down because I've been basically toting this for the past 5 years. And, it's kind of interesting because it's really all of the above when it boils down to it. It's the live, it's the post-show stuff available on demand. Either it can be distributed through whatever channel you want, whether it be iTunes, Roku, Boxy, Samsung. It can go where it needs to go. From the on-demand point, the live helps build the buzz. I think this is just, you and I have been talking about this for a long time. I think, this is the formula. And, because we can. It's not because, it's just something that's easy to do in the web space. It's just, it's by default. It's a really no-brainer.
Yeah.
And I think the what's going to separate the content is the content. It's going to be the folks that are producing the higher quality content.
Yeah, I guess my question, I guess, really at its root was about, I think, the distribution via podcast or the RSS feed as a very important piece of the distribution strategy for all your shows versus the streaming side. So I guess we kind of have this tug of war that's going on in the space right now, and I see it on our platform, and I see it up, other places as well. Is that video is? It feels like video is drifting away from the RSS-based distribution to more streaming stuff, and I'm just wondering, as we look into the future, is there some way that the video podcasting side can find its own way that can still work as a video podcast? Maybe it leans a little bit more towards streaming in the video podcasting side with the RSS as the format of distribution.
Well,
so I'm just curious about you guys.
Rob, the thing though is technically the user doesn't care. When it's,
no, that's right.
When the person's looking at something on the Roku, all they care about is they got there and they were able to load the app. If they could care less that we actually drove that Roku feed by an RSS feed. Ultimately, they could care less.
That's right. That's true, and that does really cut to the heart of what I'm saying. Is that does RSS have a place here? I know that here this last week with this whole thing with the Google Reader has raised the whole issue of the survival of RSS as a syndication platform, right? Are we going to see RSS drift away and we go to more hosted on-demand type of places, or is there going to be a place for using RSS as the connection between servers that creates that experience? I guess that's really, I guess, where I'm getting that. It isn't that people are cutting and pasting RSS feeds and all this kind of stuff. That is an exchange between client and server, and presently that's where that's what happens in iTunes. That's what happens in Zune. Is that exchange of information happens at that layer. Now, if you look at iTunes or you look at these other, Blip and those kind of things, they are not using RSS. They're just using embedded players and things like that. So anyway, I was just wanted to spark that conversation too.
You know, the whole thing with Google trying to depreciate RSS, in my personal opinion, is that they're trying to get people to move to have the conversation on Google Plus and discover
Yeah.
content on Google Plus. I don't consider I consider Google Plus to be a great place to go and watch for content. But some people say, well, I'll just go to Twitter. Well, Twitter to me, unless you're really, really organized, is a pretty mismatched stream of content, and I don't find that a
Yeah.
great place for discovery.
No.
Once in a while, a gem or two will come through, but I particularly don't want to go sit on websites. So, how do I read The Verge? I read The Verge from their RSS feed. I've got 2 articles up here that, I popped up that I found, switching over to Feedly. I found them, found the articles there that I wanted to talk about. And as far as content goes, though, the same thing. Is there's going to be content embedded in those pages? How am I going to find it? Probably
Yeah.
I'll find some content more by social than by an RSS feed. But at the same time, I think from at least my business standpoint, RSS has got to be, I don't see anything replacing it.
Yeah, I think there's a core user base that certainly makes a great case for continued support of RSS. We actually wrote an article. Chris Welsh wrote an article about Google Reader and countries where there's internet censorship, and that
Right.
kind of underlayer of content is sort of vital for people to continue to get news in sort of dictatorship-led environments. But it is, I think, not a consumer product in the sense that like it has broad internet usage and appeal to an everyday web user. So I talked to some people this week and asked some friends, do you guys use RSS? And most of like my normal non-nerd friends like didn't even know what it really was, and they're like, what is RSS? And I love getting my news that way, and have been really disappointed by the Google Reader support ending. But I don't know how mainstream RSS as a news reading platform has been adopted kind of by the normal crowd using the internet, the mainstream people using the internet. I will say, to the Twitter point, it can be a very chaotic environment, especially for somebody who just is not a power user per se. And that's something that we're trying to really do in with our sports sites. With SB Nation, we have 320 sports sites, and part of it is a lot of it is curating the web and curating a Twitter experience that we're building for the NFL season and during game day, a way to kind of have editorially curated news from Twitter that will be kind of guiding what users see and helping them to curate that experience. But as far as the video side of things, I think like any technology that enables us to kind of go from point A to point B and make a better kind of experience or get someone our content, I'm in favor of. I think the embedded player is nice. Monetization through tracked ads in RSS and in downloadable content has been a challenge. So I think there's kind of an attitude of we need this sort of ad serving layer, and that doesn't exist in RSS, at least in video form. So I think the technology is certainly going to evolve, and there will be new technologies, and I think certainly it's important to make sure that we don't break these pipes that operate that move our content around. But I as far as the news reading capability, I don't know how widely adopted it was.
I think it's interesting. You talk about the ad space and the downloadable content, and it just cracks me up. It's like we've been having this battle now since mid 2005 with the media buyers. And if they could just ever get their heads wrapped around that what you're delivering is delivering to such a focused audience that
Hmm.
we've been able to execute ad deals, for 7, 8 years now, but it's not at the volume that I wish it would be. I leave a lot of inventory, on the table every month, but at the same point, I see a lot more interest, and obviously with the statistics that we're using and some of the major media players that are using our stuff now, it's helping the media buyers start to understand the space a little bit. And, if you can get a radio guy and you talk to them about podcasting, they fully understand the value. But if you get a digital media buyer that has no radio experience, they want to, they more relate it to a YouTube experience, and they want to pay YouTube prices.
Hmm.
The live stream stuff with the embed is, obviously they can serve oftentimes remnant ad inventory or as a set buy. But at the same point, I still think that in host endorsement, part of a podcast ad spot has so much more value and has such a higher CPM level. I just don't think maybe the media buyers like paying the higher CPM. But
Hmm.
honestly, if you deliver the ROI, I don't see why it's having such a hard time getting as much traction. What do you think what do you think the media buyers are having trouble with on the embedded advertising within shows?
I think that obviously media buyers just want to maximize the value of their purchase. So right now it tends to be the easiest thing is to run pre-roll and fill in boxes on websites.
Yep.
And I think that's just the reality. It's easier. And I think what we have to do, what producers have to do, is just make a compelling case for other ad experiences, whether it's integration or you said host mention, or even something more creative. Obviously, for us, with technology and The Verge, there's a problem with endemic advertisers and the kind of church and state separation. So
Mhm.
it is really important for us to be able to have dedicated ad space and content space. In sports, we can integrate a lot more, meaningfully and a lot more interestingly. And our sponsors have been really into kind of more custom integrated experiences into our shows, in sports and in gaming. But it presents a challenge with a really kind of hard journalism brand like The Verge. How do you take an advertiser like Samsung, who's one of our bigger clients, and and embed it on a show where we're talking about the Galaxy S4, pointed we are in some of its features. So that's there's a delicate balance there, and for The Verge especially, like that dedicated carved out ad space is still extremely important, and being able to capture and track what we are, the viewers are seeing those ads are. To your point, like we are ad supported and will always be. Our content is free and we like it free. And I think subscription models may work for some producers, but we really want to be ad supported and bring the same level of talent and creativity and production value to our advertisers as we do to our content producers, to our editorial teams. So that's like what the Vox Media kind of positioning is, and I think like the challenge for just podcasts in general is that like are you going to bake an ad into it? Like are you going to if for video are you going to just hard code a pre-roll or a 30-second ad that lives forever with this content?
Right.
Is there a way to change it out dynamically? There's some interesting technology that does do that. Then you run into tracking issues. So it's not perfect, but I think we've been able to maintain and be successful as an ad supported company. That's both the video is a huge part of that. So.
I think what I found too, and this is something that I tell media creators all the time, is really you need to look at your evergreen if your content is truly evergreen, because what we
Mhm.
find, and again, I've got this, 13,000 plus base of shows that are using our stat system to basically do this, put my finger in the wind and be able to see what's happening, is that the high majority, 97, 98% of the content on the internet today, when it hits, especially, I'm just going to say podcasting content. So let me preface that. 14 days, it's burnt, and it's done. It's not going to get, that it goes straight up and then it goes like this. The curve is, downward, and within about 14 days, it's burnt all pretty much 99, 95, like 95 to 99% of its downloads. So from a podcast delivery standpoint, you putting that ad inside the content makes perfect sense, because usually an ad campaign is 3 months. And in that 3 months, that material is probably not going to be watched anymore. So who cares if the ad's still in there? But at the same point, if you get evergreen content, you got to be able to rebuild. And I know a lot of shows that do. So, and companies get real weirded out, and they say, you're going to leave that ad in there for 2-3 years down the road. I'm like, yeah, because no one's watching it, so what difference does it make? So, if you have evergreen and people are coming back 3 months later and you're getting significant views, it makes sense financially to rebuild it. But I think for the majority of people, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And
I think that this whole advertising on the audio side of podcasting, I think is going to slowly but surely, it's going to be less and less of an issue. I mean, if you look at what the broadcast radio folks are doing today with, they're doing, some host read things too. So I think that there's some convergence that I think is potential here, where the broadcast buyers are going to ultimately look at audio podcasting, not in entirely the same light as the radio side, but I think it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. I mean, a lot of those folks take a long time, as you know, to make that perception and that understanding transition to this new medium. I mean, podcasting has now been around for, 8 years, or 9 years almost. So I think we're getting close to a decade. I think that's probably long enough.
Yeah.
that I think we can start to see some progress on that side. I think that the big challenge for monetization around video on the video podcasting side is that there's so many other opportunities for pre-roll. But I think the problem with that is that I don't believe that pre-roll is as effective as embeds. And I think that we still have this disconnect between what works and what's easy for the buyers to buy. And I think eventually those worlds will come together. I believe. I'm not exactly sure how, but it's going to happen.
And they pay a lot less for those pre-roll and post-roll ads. They're just it's incredible the price differential between an interstitial and a pre-roll. In this client that I've been dealing with over this past week, major media firm. If I said their name, you'd be like, oh yeah, I know who they are. But yet they've been traditional media space, working in traditional radio, working in traditional TV, and now they're making the shift, and they're going to basically cut out a portion of their traditional distribution, and they're going to go digital. So for them, they're learning from the very first time. They thought this would be this easy transition. And so we're on the phone with them for like 3 hours explaining, how the media space works around digital content versus what they see in the broadcast side. And these guys are like, we need to call you back. We need to go into consultation, because they haven't understood it, and didn't have anybody on their team that really, they really did. So whoever made this transition did them a disservice, because they did not, really have the background prerequisite information. But, I'm glad they reached out. But at the same time, they got this hard truth reality coming on. I'm like, hey, you got a great brand. You're going to find advertisers. It's not going to be an issue, but it's different. And it really throws them for a loop. It really, really does. But it's good to see that they're making the jump. I'm glad to see what they're doing in this specific company. But I think we're going to see more of it. CBS just announced the other day they're finally going to start making some of their content available online, digitally, while some of the other companies have done. But still, I think, with what Chad and The Verge and other groups are doing, it's equaling the playing field. We can compete with these multi-billion-dollar industries now.
Well, I think the CBS thing points to probably a direct reaction to Nielsen's decision to start tracking and including web views as in their TV ratings, and they are now opening up that all that's kind of secondary and TV everywhere mentality that Fox and other broadcasters making their content available online. That was nice and convenient for them to sell some pre-roll and like you said, kind of the lower value advertising. But now that Nielsen is including those views in the actual Nielsen rating, which is how you get these incredibly high television deals done, I think everyone's going to start throwing their content online, and I think that's why CBS is there. I think what the challenge is eventually, like if we end up with a programming in a way that looks like television, our advertising is going to be
Right.
programmed in a way that looks like television. And, it may not necessarily just be post roll or pre roll. I think interstitials are an experience that people are used to on television. I think it can be an experience that's valuable for certain types of web video as well. And the challenge just becomes, if we are really truly leading the way in the way that I want our team to lead, we're gonna find partners that want to go for that ride with us, and that will be amenable to trying things out. And we have had some great advertising partners that have given us a lot of leeway in how we work with them, and make it a cool and interesting
Right.
partnership as opposed to just something that's like I said, filling holes in
Yep.
boxes. So
Yep.
you know
So the question though, then on the Nielsen part, I the measurement methods they've used for years past have not always been, you know, you, I kind of
yeah.
laugh. So the question then is, are they really, quote unquote, going to be able to measure correctly? Are they going to include The Verge? Are they going to include Geek News Central? Are they going to include Twit? Are they going to include all the other networks out there as part of their measurement standard? Or are they going to protect the mainstream media folks and protect their business model because they know they're being forced to digital? I get really leery when a company says we're going to start measuring digital, and yet, okay, so digital means a lot of things. Digital means YouTube views. Digital means
Mhm.
embeds on websites. How are they actually going to do those counting? Because let's be frank, we've been counting since 2013, 2005.
Mm.
Mhm.
Counting is not an issue. Matter of fact, counting is so accurate that that's the reason why media buyers oftentimes will pay less for digital because they have an accurate counting and they're not being fed this what I feel is a bunch of BS from Nielsen in these these multi-million dollar. Okay, this show had this much market share. Okay, well maybe they've got a good idea, but um how are they gonna equate that in digital? Are they gonna play fair?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, no, I think it's Nielsen is tough because they obviously their sample size is so small, and I think if you ask around to friends and family, like, do you know anybody in kind of your first circle that is a Nielsen tester? And I know actually I don't. So but it is the way that it is the status quo. It is the way of doing business, and right now they're adding products that make it easier for the kind of big producers and like programmers to find more reasons to use Nielsen, which is I guess just good business. As far as it being something that I'm like really concerned about, or that they would sort of actively make it harder for us to find meaningful advertisement. I actually think it's the other way around. I think that the more used to people blurring the lines, the better it's going to be. And if you're an innovative content producer, you're gonna and you can stand out in that landscape. The money can come.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing stuff that's like I would say, where with a high value audience and you're indexing well. If it some incredibly niche programming obviously can be really successful, but have a hard time monetizing. But I think where we are with the news business and sort of news entertainment culture, the more people in the game, the better. I say. I think it's like let's really blur the lines, and I think that actually gives us our greatest opportunity to make a big splash. But I'm extremely optimistic. So
I I think
uh, you know,
I think you're right because it's true is because then the media buyers are going to be forced to look at digital deeper, especially when it comes to serialized content, new stuff like you guys do. Rob, where do you think? You think is I have a tendency to agree with Chad on that. Even though I'm still suspicious, and it's just my inherent nature. I'm suspicious of Nielsen. Not that I'm against them. I want them to measure us all well, but where do you think this falls in?
Well, my kind of overriding thought about this whole Nielsen thing is I wonder if part of the reason why there's this this slow move to actually getting accurate numbers for viewers on stuff now on the broadcast side it's difficult because it's broadcast, right? There's no server tracking of who's actually watching something, but I do wonder if there's some factor here of each of the parties involved in this not wanting to really know what the true distribution is of this stuff, so they can play in this kind of this guessing game that makes everybody happy on both sides. But once they really start opening up you know the door to really knowing exactly how many people are watching things, that people are going to be held accountable. And I kind of wonder how much hesitation is involved in that. And I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm putting a dark cloud over this that's not there, but I kind of wonder about that. And I've wondered about that for a long time. That maybe the digital side is a little bit of a threat to how business is done.
I'm all about accountability at this point, and that's a major part of my business right now. I have media companies that are saying, "Hey, we're buying this digital content, this digital podcast content. I need a way to validate that the numbers I'm being told are the numbers I'm being told." So, my biggest number of new customers right now are actually the media buyers that are forcing their clients to use our back end measurement system in order to allow them to come in and log in every day and look and see how a campaign's doing and see how, if they're getting the deliveries where they thought they were getting the deliveries. And the media buyers love it because, all of a sudden, they have within their reach the same type of tools they've had for a long time with the web analytics and with the banner serving and all this stuff. They're actually able to go in and say, yep, I'm getting what I paid for. I'm happy. And they're able to derive a true ROI on their advertising, and then they're able to determine if they want to spend more, So, inflated numbers in the digital media space does nothing but hurt the digital media space. So I'm all
Yeah.
about accuracy because I truly
Yeah.
believe that the digital space delivers a better message and a better advertising experience, thus demanding higher dollars. But when soon as someone inflates those numbers, then the apple cart gets tipped over. So I'm all about correct numbers. That's why I'm so leery about how Nielsen is going to do their quote unquote measurement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if there's a real answer to that. Obviously, you want the accuracy that's available on the internet, and the not only just accuracy for views, but the other just the incredible amount of data you can get from
True.
engagement and
Yep.
time spent.
Yep.
It makes it a better ad platform, and I think the technology will get there eventually. Um, I just now, really, the Google version of web advertising, which is direct and getting people to buy stuff and clicking things, and that was how advertising was done on the web.
Right.
And I think that television advertising and magazine advertising is more brand advertising in the truest sense, where it's you have to create demand for a product and you have to make it seem sexy and interesting and have it tell a story and you want to buy it. The internet has always been filled with these standard holes that are places where people can buy things, so the aggressive retargeting and buy it now, and obviously even just click through is in a sense like a buy. But what is exciting is that some publishers are starting to experiment with other forms of advertising, other type of metrics, engagement and interaction, things like that really take advantage of the rich media nature of the web, and that is truly exciting. And I think eventually will be something that like traditional media can't do and can't provide, at least in the terms of the medium. I think, there'll be traditional media players doing it. But, really taking advantage of the web, the data that you have, to do like true brand advertising that isn't just holes in pages that are, aren't just boxes to click. I think that there's huge upside there. I think the magazine ad industry, there's a $18 billion market. And I think that none of that money has ever come to digital yet. And I think, it will in time as, as the web experiences get better and better. I mean, even just look at the general web 5 years ago. You're looking at a far more beautifully designed web experience, across the board. Even the tools we use to access the web and the browsers, they're better designed, and people are used to, things like iPads that have, high standards for design and having your apps look pretty. So,
Yep.
I think that all speaks to a future where, it does maximize the internet's potential as an advertising platform. And we may not be there yet, but, that's why I'm in this business. That's what we're doing. That's what we want to be. And I think that's why you guys are here. We believe in this medium as the way forward. Otherwise I'd be doing something different. But this is I think this is the chance, and this is the time when we're really going to kind of see that shift. And it's not going to happen overnight. And, it's going to take big people like Nielsen coming in, making some waves of their own just to be in the space. But, there's a heavy direction that this thing is headed. And I don't think, I think it's only going to gain in momentum.
And it ultimately boils back to the content. If the content's good, they'll come. The audience comes. You're going to monetize that. It's just how it works.
Yep.
It's
Content is king.
Yeah, that's it. Content is king. But it's also another good thing too, is you've got the spaces. Digital space has really matured over the last 10 years. So your 22, 23-year-olds that came into media companies, as people that were just starting, are now getting into their 30s, and they will at some point soon. They will be the leaders in these media companies. And guess what? They grew up with YouTube. They grew up with podcasts. They grew up with streaming media. They are going to say, why are we not spending more money here? And they are going to start pushing. And same thing in the studios, as that older generation moves out and the younger ones come in, it's going to shift. And I wish it would shift a little faster. But I think that, just from attrition of, people leaving companies and new faces, I think it's going to be very successful as time moves forward. I do want to talk a little bit today. And Rob, did you have any more questions around those lines, or?
Yeah, I just wanted to raise another kind of different topic around this whole video side. Is I'm wondering how the next big thing that's coming, I think that we're all feeling, with the Google Glass and the augmented reality, and how we're seeing more and more sensors around us in our lives, and how that could impact video production, video distribution, and how our audiences find the content. I don't believe that I've heard much discussion about that quite yet, about how this next generational wearable computing and wearable screens and all this kind of that could impact video, or audio podcasting for that matter. Yeah, is there any thoughts that you guys have on that?
Todd, you want to?
I from the glass standpoint, I can't wait to see what's possible. From a user experience, and it's wearing something on your head that you're moving your head around all the time. I don't know if that makes great video, but if you get people that are able to, if this becomes, gyro stabilized and the video looks decent, and it's not, look like you're jogging down a street when you're walking, it could turn out to be some pretty compelling stuff if edited into other content. I don't know. It's going to be exciting. As soon as I can get my hands on a set of these glasses, I'm going to have a pair, and we'll see what's possible. Probably the best thing is to give them to my kids and let my kids rock and roll with them and see what they can come up with.
Let them figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the kid on a skateboard. But they've already got. What have I got here back in the bags? I've already got. All these wearable cameras and stuff that we can use mount to cars in different places. And so who knows what's going to happen. I think the sports side is going to be, well, it's already huge. It's already the wearable cameras are already huge in the sports side. I don't know if glass is going to add to that or not, but I think it's going to it's just going to be a cool to experiment. It's hard to say what's going to come out of it.
I feel like we're living in a William Gibson world, or about to be very soon. It seems like just sounds like SimStim from Neuromancer. But I think the glass stuff, the sports angle is obviously the one that jumps out at me. The wearable cameras that the rugby refs are using. I don't know if you guys have seen. There's a video that was going viral. It was like on the top of Reddit last week of these helmet cam or kind of glass, actually kind of look like glass, for rugby refs, and they're feeding like HD video from these wide viewing angle cameras that are mounted to the refs, and they're just feeding it into the broadcast. Just becomes another source, and the footage is unbelievable. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, I hop on YouTube and just look up like rugby camera wearable ref or something, and it's unbelievable, and it adds a level of speed. It's the best way to show sports. It gave me a whole new perspective on what it was like to be on the field. And I don't even watch rugby, but the experience was incredible, and it was awesome and extremely compelling. So I think, that's definitely coming to, American sports in a big way. And, like I said, SimStim, this is the future that we were warned about.
And in this company right here, they have hurt my checkbook more this spring because and quite honestly, I bought him as an experiment to do some stuff in vehicles, and then my 13-year-old's like, Dad, can you buy me this mount and that? And next thing you know, they got 2 cameras of their own, and so these we're already seeing it with GoPro and Contour and everyone else is doing cool stuff, but it's I don't know, I think the gaming aspect. I don't know if you guys I followed what's going on with this game that Google put out called Ingress. And, I'm not necessarily a big gamer because I'm just too doggone busy, but Ingress I can play when I'm mobile someplace. And, I think Ingress inside Google Glasses would just be absolutely incredible. I think it'd take that game to a whole new level. And privately, I just wonder if they're not molding that game for those glasses. But, so I think gameplay is going to be big. Navigation's going to be big. It's going to be interesting. It really will. I just can't wait to see what's going to be, what's possible. And they're not the only company doing stuff either. So it's, there's other players doing glass projects. It's just Google's got the biggest, PR arm in the space right now.
Seems like that, with Google Glass and these wearable computing, computers that we're seeing more and more, this whole concept of life casting maybe takes on a new life. I know it was kind of a popular thing probably 5 or 6 years ago, but if everybody's wearing an HD camera on their glasses or on their bodies somehow, you could create almost I don't know. I mean, if it's always showing something in front of you, it may not be that compelling of content. But I wonder about the dynamic of other people around you having a camera pointed back at you, and the whole dynamic that could come from that, kind of more of a social video type of situation where you could have, like regular conversations that could be published to friends, with cameras pointed at each other that could be recorded and switch back and forth. I think of the Google Hangout thing, right? I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I think from the dynamic, like I said, the edited dynamic, I think it could be pretty cool. But again, how is the quality going to be when someone's head's moving around?
Yeah.
And, I think there's going to be
stabilization, Todd.
Absolutely. I think there'll be no excuses now while folks don't photograph UFOs. There should be no because there's obviously going to be legal issues with people using these in establishments. Already had this story last week of this dive bar that didn't want them in there, which I think was more of a publicity stunt than anything else.
Sure.
Then you've got the whole legal issue of okay, I need to confiscate your glasses because you just witnessed someone do a drug transaction, or you recorded someone. It gets really weird when the government gets involved in video. So there could be all kinds of weird stuff, because if this is all going up in the cloud and you're out and about and the GPS, this is all GPS embedded, the next thing you know, you're being hauled into court because you invariably videotaped someone doing something they weren't supposed to, just because you had Google Glass. I think it just opens up a whole bunch of civil liberty issues. It's going to be curious. It really, it's going to be, it's going to be great for The Verge and for my show to talk about all this stuff, because it opens up a whole new news genre is what it really does.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So, Rob, all right, are you getting a pair of glasses when they come available? Are you going to order one?
I'm going to wait until they, have the prescription version. So, if I'm going to even get it at all, it seems like it's going to be really expensive, and the value of it, and especially I'm on a Windows phone, so it's probably not going to work with it anyway. So, until Microsoft comes out with their own type of device, I'm not saying they are, I'm just saying if and maybe, then yeah, I'll probably do it at that point.
Chad, are you going to buy a pair?
I don't know if I'm going to buy a pair, but I know we're going to have some at The Verge, I'm sure, to review, and I'll give it a fair shake. So, we had a pretty great, unfortunate exclusive to get to go and try out Glass, and Josh got a chance to try them out. We made a video. So the video guys who went, Jordan Opplinger directed the piece. They thought it was amazing. They're like 100% bought in. Of course, they're hardcore gadget fans, and actually they both use Nexus 4s. So not Josh, but the video team. So they loved it. They were like wanting one immediately, and they were talking about it for the next 2 weeks. So sure, I'll give it a try. I think the watch is probably something I'm more interested in.
Really?
A smartwatch, just in a way that only because of I think the form factor is different and unique in the same way. Just as a novelty, I think the Glass would be fun, and I'm interested in it. And in the same way, I'm interested in playing around with not watch kind of form factors, just for the novelty's sake of it.
I think from the watch standpoint, I almost give that for me personally, because to me it's another thing I have to charge. It's probably gonna require another data plan.
No,
I
don't
know.
think so. I think it'll be a tether.
You think it'll be a tether? Well, you're still going to pay for the tether. You're going to pay $10 or $15 for tether, whatever they extort us for.
Yeah.
Well, look at the extortion that they're going to do. AT&T has already announced the pricing.
Oh yeah, with Google Glass.
And Google Glass, and give me a break. So,
well, that is something that's actually that they said about Glass. When the team was out there testing it, is that if you have a good data connection, it's a really great experience. If you don't, and you're on slow data, it's incredibly frustrating. And so I think you have to be on LTE. It has to be robust. You have to be on Wi-Fi. Otherwise, you're doing these interactions and you're waiting. And that was, I think, the most frustrating thing. And there's a little bit of that in the review and the video, but that was kind of the big takeaway. The one sort of downside is if you don't have a good data connection, the performance suffers greatly. And I think for something that's so immediate as a piece of glass in front of your eye, that you need that updating, the quick speed. You're not looking at your phone and looking around and waiting while a page loads. It has to be snappy. So data is incredibly important. I think the watch form factor probably could be a little more passive. But I'm just interested to see what Apple does with it. I believe they are going to come out with a watch, and it'd just be interesting to see like what the form factor is. Because we have people like Pebble who funded on Kickstarter with e-ink and these long charges where you can wear them all day, and there's been rumors, of course, of like kinetically charged watches. So I'm more interested in it from like to see what they do and how they solve some of these problems. And not just Apple. Other because there's clearly seems to be some interest in these wearable computers, and I think we're only just getting started. Like, stuff like the Fitbit and the Jawbone and the Nike Fuel Band. These are all like the beginning of a big new, giant boom in wearables. So it's just going to be fun to have options that aren't square pieces of glass, that you hold in your hand.
Well, you'll have to carry portable power around. I have one of these in my bag at all times now, and it's that's another 1 pound brick that I'm humping. And in New in New York City, you guys go everywhere with, you either have saddlebags or backpacks or whatever, and
Mhm.
that just adds more weight to our, our bags. It sucks, but I think that I did want to circle back there. You mentioned, that what Apple's going to do, and it brought me back to a topic I wanted to ask you earlier. Do you think that they are really going to come out with an Apple TV, or are they just going to, at this point, upgrade the existing Apple TV hockey puck to allow apps? Do you think they're really going to come out with a TV? And personally, I hope they do. I'll be the first. I'll stand in line for the first one.
Mhm.
Um, what do you think? Do you think, Chad? Are they going to do it?
It's a question we've talked about a lot. I think TVs are a different purchase than a phone,
Yep.
and a phone is a much more incremental purchase.
Mm.
I don't know if the TV is really in their future or not. I know that it comes down to the content deals, and it seems like right now they're content to play with the hockey puck, the existing Apple TV, because of the way that they have their content deals structured. It's safe. It's really great on demand. But I know that Apple, if they could do the deals, would be the company to build, this sort of TV replacement that's linear and combines the best of on demand and live and cable and, sort of the dream. But really, it comes down to, again, content is king. They need the deals done. And from my perspective, at least in this industry, and having people approach us about, getting our content on other boxes, and we've spoken to a lot of people. Um, it really isn't the technology; it's more just the deal making,
Yep.
and
Yep.
so I think if anybody could do it and have the momentum and the heft in the industry to do those kind of deals, it's going to be Apple. But they also, after they successfully dominated the music industry for a decade, I don't think the television industry is going to be as amenable to hopping into bed with him, at the rates the music industry was. So,
Yep.
it's more about the content, like it always is. And if they come out with a device, I know it's going to be beautiful, it'll be great. But I think until they can really revolutionize the experience in terms of like the programming, that they may not take the jump and go, with a fully new product. That's my opinion. But
And I know what you're talking about the deal making, because we were real early. I think we were number 27th app or something like that on the Roku, and we made a real early push to make sure that we had at least our network channels on all the big devices. And Google TV was easy, Voxy was easy, the Roku was easy. But when we went to get on Samsung, without going into too much details, thank God I had a lawyer on staff, because the paperwork to get on the Samsungs was incredible, and it was like a major TV deal. I mean, it was that
yeah,
much paperwork, and it was just to get an app. I mean, just to get an app on their device. Now things have gotten easier. They've kind of realized what they've had to do, but I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm just trying to get a digital app on their television. What, if so, that's a digital piece. What, I can't even imagine the, I was at a set top box conference, or OTT conference a couple of years ago, and they had all the big guys up there. They had Time Warner, they had Cablevision, and all the major cable carriers. And I, being the innocent kind of new guy in the space, I really didn't know what how things worked. And I basically stepped in and had a question. I said, "Hey, I got a network. I've got all this great content. How do I get a channel on your network?" And the guy says, "Well," he says, 2 to 3 years and probably $500,000 in lawyer fees." I'm just like, I just,
yep,
I'm just like, you've got to be kidding, But he was quite serious, and it was like, okay, go away, go away, fly, and before I swat you.
yeah,
So, but that's the thing about digital. They cannot deny us. We don't have to go begging and growling. The American public are finally starting to get on board more in digital. And we had an increase in people that have completely cut the cord. That only bodes well for all of us that do digital media. So,
that's right.
um, it's if we can wait it out, we shall prevail, I guess, to be the word. But
Yeah, I kind of wonder whether or not Apple's going to do anything with TV too, because I I totally agree that the deals are a big gate for this. But I also know that, we've got those set-top boxes sitting under our TVs right now, those that actually have set-top boxes from Comcast and the big cable networks. And those are begging to be replaced in some way or fashion. And I think that there's a couple different ways that it could go. It could go that control of that dumb screen is one option, through your tablet or your phone
Yep.
or your Roku, or some sort of a device there that is just a conduit to the screen. Because if you look at how, well, there's two ways that typically that you're seeing the experiences be presented now. You have a screen that has computing power built into it, and then you just have a dumb monitor that just plugs into something, right? So some solution would have to fall between those two areas. I do see some movement around all-in-ones, where all the computing power is built into the screen, and I'm seeing those getting larger screens with that stuff built into it. And we seem to be moving that. And Apple's making those. Windows is making those. And if you just kind of extrapolate that out to a larger screen, you can see that there's probably markets for both, right? There's a market for people that just want to have a dumb screen, and then there's people that want to have a big screen that has all the computing power built into it, that you can run anything. And then you kind of back out and say, well, how does the content community, the big cable networks, want to get their content into this? I think it's going to potentially happen through both ways. But I think it's really requires the deals between the cable operators and the TV manufacturers, Apple, all those kind of guys, to replace that set-top box and get into almost like a wireless operator type of deal, like Apple did early on with the iPhone, to really make that kind of transition happen.
Rob, my 22-year-old, she doesn't have a TV. She's got a laptop and an iPad.
Yep.
My kids here at the house, when I want to watch something on Netflix that they don't want to watch, guess what they do? They grab an iPad or an laptop and they go watch. So what we're doing is we are, just for the simple fact, we're going to change the space. It's got to change, because if they don't, that audience, is they're going to consume elsewhere. They don't care about channel 1 through 1,000. They really don't, and they probably care about 5 channels versus 1,000 channels. But
yeah, because the set-top box is an antiquated thing. I know that the one that I have, sitting under my TV right now, looks ancient. I mean, that thing is begging to be replaced in some ways. And how that happens, I think, could be done with software.
But if they replace it, if the cable providers replace it themselves, my opinion is it's going to be the same closed ecosystem. They're not.
Well, yeah.
They're not. They're going to make The Verge sign a very big contract deal to be on the new set-top box. And maybe Verge will have to pay. Maybe Verge will get some money for being on there. My network. I almost bet I'll have to pay to be on the network versus. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this shapes out. But I think the cable providers provide the box. They're going to control it so that they can make money.
Yep.
Well, we're here already an hour and 20 minutes, so probably need to start thinking about wrapping up. Chad, any thoughts on where the space, you've already talked a lot here about where the space is going to go. What's your predictions for the next year or so?
I think for the next year, the kind of over the top thing is going to get louder and louder. I think the audience, the cord cutters, the kind of tech savvy people, they want it. They have this vision. I think everybody kind of understands what they want, and it's an over the top solution that kind of combines the best of all the worlds. And I think the technology is out there to do it. I just think eventually, someone's going to figure it out, whether it's Apple or, somebody, cable provider. It could be Roku, it could be Boxy. They're all pushing into this attitude of more linear programming. And I think linear is something that has been lost in the shuffle a little bit. there is something nice about sitting down and flipping through the channels, or kind of the more passive engagement of like the linear experience.
Right.
I find like sometimes even just trying to use an Apple TV, like the fact that I have to pick something I want to watch is like I don't know, you're being really lazy and you're just laying on the couch and you really want to just flip the channels. I find it like I'd rather have something playing than have to click, or even have to choose. Like let someone else make that programming choice for me, and then and then I can decide if I want to keep watching it or not. There's something to that experience that has been ingrained in our culture for 40 years. So I don't think that's going to die overnight. And I think you have to be able to address that linear problem in an over-the-top environment. And otherwise, you're not going to get the sort of penetration that you need to make it worth the money you're going to have to spend for all the content you need on the boxes. So
I agree.
That's my attitude towards it. We're going to be there on it or on them. Whenever we're ready. So as soon as someone figures it out, we're going to have content that's going to play right up there with the big boys for our areas of expertise. So I'm ready for it to happen. But who knows whether it's going to be now or in a year. But it's coming.
I think that discovery standpoint is huge because, like last night we watched a movie. The kids talked me into some movie I really didn't want to see and end up watching. Then, we clicked down to we're in HBO and it's one of the old episode 3 of The Matrix that was coming on. The kids are stop, don't go any further, and they wanted to watch that. So I agree with you. It's that kind of like click, you find something and you're good.
You would never navigate and click to watch the third Matrix. That's something you have to flip through and say, oh, wow, there's a crazy robot on screen. Like, I might as well stick around and watch this.
Right.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's true. It is ingrained in us, that just channel surfing, So, but I want to be able to channel surf from basically watching whatever I'm watching to basically, like I said, watching something's going on with Verge that's playing. I say, I'm going to stop and watch for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or till they change topics or whatever. It's true. And the key, though, is doing digital and doing streaming and doing video is expensive. We just got to make sure we can pay for it all. That's the key.
Hey, I watch a lot of video podcasts on my TiVo, and I'd say that's probably one of the best video podcast experiences that I've ever seen and used, and I've had it for many years now. Is that those downloaded shows come into my same kind of folder with all my broadcast TV stuff. So it's like it's all right there, right? And it shows me how many episodes I have in there, and I just hop in there and click a button and it's there, and it's recorded just like a DVR. So I mean, I find what TiVo is doing to be really, really a fascinating model for what could be done in this blended world of broadcast and on-demand content that we see, especially with the type of content that The Verge is doing and we're doing here. That stuff should be able to be surfaced right in the same recordings as we have on our DVRs on broadcast.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing I will say is I'll just give a little plug. I bought the Roku 3, actually had one sent in, and if you own a Roku 1 and Roku 2, spend the $99, get the Roku 3 because the performance is hands above the previous devices. And it's just a better experience. Put that other Roku 2 on Craigslist or something, or sell it in a garage sale, because it's worth making the upgrade if you're a Roku fan. I still like the Google TV model too. It's just too bad they haven't put more investment into that. It seems like that's kind of waned a little bit from there's been no feature increase. They haven't really done a lot to improve the experience on the Google TV side, but I remain confident. Yeah. We'll see. And in Apple, I still think they're the 500-pound gorilla. If they can change it, anybody. If they can't change it, nobody can. I guess that's the best way to say it.
And look out for the Xbox when it comes to a set-top box replacement too, right?
Well, Rob, the thing about the Xbox though is my Xbox is in the game room. And it's good for the kids. But I don't know. I don't know if a lot of people equate that to an entertainment device.
More and more, it's the case.
Yeah, it's true.
If you look at the usage number, it's here over the last year and a half. It's been trending more as a video playing platform than it is a game playing platform.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's actually the second largest video marketplace next to iTunes.
Huh. Well,
So,
I guess I'm going to have to get on it again. I guess I'll have to go to the game room and look because it doesn't leave the game room, and I don't normally go to the game room. The kids do. So, but some people don't have it. You know, obviously, Chad, you're in New York. Space is a premium. Your game room and your living room is probably the same room, isn't it?
It's the same room, yeah.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
I think it's for most, though, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we do a lot of watching on the Apple TV, and you know, I think the Xbox, obviously, like they're putting it in the center of people's homes, and they're making it, you know, the entertainment box. They're gonna make the investment. I mean, we know that's coming, so you know that'll be interesting to see. You know, like I said, again, the technology is out there. You still have to do the deals, you know,
Yep.
and somebody's going to get it right, but it takes a lot of money, and it's going to take somebody like Microsoft who can afford to spend the billions of dollars it takes to get the content they need on there. When they do, and they can do a real, you know, linear experience, the ad tracking ability, the ad serving ability, the data, it's all going to be better. It's going to be a better environment for advertisers. It's going to be a better environment for the producers. It might be a bit of a wake-up call because, you know, actual numbers are going to be, you know, when you have real data and not sampled data, you know, sometimes they don't necessarily line up. But, you know, sometimes you need a reality check in an industry like this. And you know, that's what technology, that's why we're here. You know, it's disruptive. It's fun to be disruptive. You know, otherwise we'd be off covering. But so, yeah, I mean, a great time to be doing this and a very exciting time to be a new media producer.
Rob, you just got to get the Xbox folks to open that sucker up more. That's the challenge. You know, you just got to get them over there to say, hey, you need to start bringing in more inventory. You know, just, you know, you need to open up a little more. And
more apps, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, more apps, more availability for groups like mine to get on that device. It's very closed ecosystem now. That's the only big complaint I have with because I can get on everything else. But the Xbox is like the golden goose that is not laying the egg. So
it's true.
All right, guys. Chad, thanks for spending time. I know you just got off the red eye. Appreciate it. I know you had to pound some coffee to be ready for the show this morning, so I appreciate you coming on. And
well, thank you guys for having me. I'm sorry I'm so haggard from
the
red eye flight, but
don't worry.
I'm hoping that my Skype's low resolution camera is probably masking some of the, you know, deathly pallor I have from the flight across the country overnight. But I do appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a fun conversation. So
absolutely, Rob, thanks for coming on again this morning and arranging getting Chad with us today. It's been fantastic.
Well, it was great. And Chad, thank you for coming on. It was great.
Yeah, no, happy to do it, you guys. It's been a lot of fun. So we'll have to do it again.
And for the audience standpoint, I am once again headed out on a big jet airplane, headed towards the East Coast. I will be flying back to Honolulu next Saturday. So we're probably going to be doing this show on Sunday next week. So just keep you advised from that standpoint. Rob, from your planning perspective, you can plan for a Sunday show next week. And other than that, everyone else, thanks for being with us today. If you have comments on today's show, geeknews@gmail.com. And we'll see you next week. Everyone take care. Aloha.
Bye.